The brown patch on your cheek is not an age spot. The uneven, blotchy, almost map-like discoloration spreading across your forehead, your upper lip, your cheekbones. Your dermatologist may have called them age spots. Your esthetician may have sold you a lightening cream for age spots, and for months, maybe years, you have been treating them like age spots. But here is what no one told you. What you actually have is melasma, and treating melasma like age spots does not just fail, it makes it worse. Every time you use that harsh lightening cream on melasma, you are triggering more melanin production. Every laser treatment aimed at age spots that hits melasma instead. The heat itself activates the melanocytes, the pigment-producing cells, and the patch comes back darker, larger, and more stubborn than before. You are not fighting age. You are fighting a hormonal, vascular, and inflammatory cascade that begins deep in the dermis, far below where any cream can reach. And the 3 foods I'm about to share with you target that cascade at its root. I will call her Eleanor. She is 67 years old, a retired reference librarian from Austin, Texas. Eleanor had spent over $2,000 on age spot treatments. She had bought the prescription creams. She had undergone 2 rounds of intense pulse light therapy. Each time the spots faded for a few weeks, and then they came roaring back. Darker, larger, spreading across her cheeks like continents on a map. When she sat down in my office, she was not wearing makeup. She had stopped. She told me, "Dr. Lee, I have given up. I have tried everything. Nothing works. I just want to know what is wrong with my skin." I looked at the pattern of her pigmentation, the symmetrical distribution on both cheeks, the involvement of her forehead and the area above her upper lip, and I told her the truth. Eleanor, you do not have age spots. You have melasma, and everything you have been doing to treat it has been making it worse. I am Dr. William Lee, and I have spent over 3 decades studying how the human body builds, repairs, and regenerates its states. Tissues. My research on angiogenesis, the science of how blood vessels grow, has been published in Science, the New England Journal of Medicine, and Nature Medicine, and what I discovered about the blood vessel connection to melasma changed everything about how we understand and treat this condition. Today, I am going to explain exactly what melasma really is, why it is fundamentally different from age spots, and the 3 specific foods that target the root cause of melasma, not just the surface pigment, but the deep vascular and inflammatory drivers underneath. Drop a comment below and tell me your age and how long you have been struggling with these stubborn brown patches. When did you first notice them? Was it after pregnancy, after starting hormone therapy, or did they appear slowly over the years? I read every single comment. Your story helps me understand what you are going through, and it helps other viewers realize they are not alone. Before we go any further, I need you to hit that subscribe button. Every week, I bring you practical, science-backed, food-based solutions for your health after 60. Subscribe now so you never miss a single video. Now, to understand how to fix melasma, you must first understand what it actually is, because here is the shocking truth. Melasma and age spots are not the same condition. They do not have the same cause. They do not involve the same cells. They do not respond to the same treatments. And confusing one for the other is the reason why millions of women after 60 are spending money and time on treatments that are destined to fail. Age spots, which are also called solar lentigens or liver spots, are caused by one thing: cumulative UV damage over decades. Think of them as a scar from the sun. The melanocytes in a very specific localized area of your skin have been damaged by UV radiation, and they have permanently overproduced melanin in that one spot. Age spots are discrete. They are well defined. They have clear borders, and they typically appear on the areas of your skin that have received the most direct sun exposure. The backs of your hands, your shoulders, the top of your forehead. They are generally small, circular, or oval, and they do not spread or merge. They are also relatively easy to treat with topical creams, chemical peels, and laser therapy because the problem is confined to a small cluster of damaged melanocytes in the epidermis. Melasma is an entirely different animal. Melasma is not caused by sun damage alone. Melasma is a complex multifactorial disorder involving melanocytes, yes, but also blood vessels, hormones, and inflammation. And here is what makes it fundamentally different from age spots. In melasma, the melanocytes are not damaged. They are hyperactive. They have been turned on by a combination of signals, hormonal signals, inflammatory signals, and vascular signals, and they are producing melanin at an accelerated, uncontrolled rate. They are not burned out from UV damage. They are overstimulated, overactive, and they are being fed by an abnormally dense network of blood vessels underneath the pigmented patch. This vascular component is the key to understanding melasma. My own research on angiogenesis, the growth of new blood vessels, is directly relevant here. In 2015, researchers at Seoul National University published a landmark study showing that melasma lesions have significantly more blood vessels, larger blood vessels, and higher expression of vascular endothelial growth factor, or VEGF, compared to normal skin. VEGF is the protein that stimulates new blood vessel growth, and in melasma, VEGF is being overexpressed in the pigmented areas. Those extra blood vessels deliver extra nutrients, extra hormones, and extra inflammatory signals to the melanocytes. They are essentially fertilizing the melanocytes, keeping them in a permanently activated state. This is why treating melasma with lasers and harsh chemicals so often backfires. When you apply heat or chemical irritation to melasma, you trigger an inflammatory response. That inflammatory response stimulates even more VEGF production. More VEGF means more blood vessels. More blood vessels mean more stimulation of melanocytes, and the melasma comes back darker than before. This phenomenon is called post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, and it is the reason why Eleanor's melasma got worse after every laser treatment. The treatment was triggering the very mechanism it was trying to fix. Hormones are the second driver of melasma. This is why melasma is sometimes called the mask of pregnancy. Estrogen and progesterone directly stimulate melanocytes to produce more melanin. But here is what most women after 60 do not realize. Even after menopause, when ovarian estrogen production has dropped dramatically, your body still produces estrogen. Your fat cells produce estrone, a weaker but still active form of estrogen. And if you are on hormone replacement therapy, the estrogen in that therapy can be enough to trigger or worsen melasma. This hormonal sensitivity is why melasma predominantly affects women. Approximately 90% of melasma cases occur in women, and why it often appears or worsens during times of hormonal fluctuation, pregnancy, oral contraceptive use, and perimenopause. The third driver of melasma is visible light. Not just ultraviolet light, but visible light, the light you can see. A groundbreaking study from the Journal of Investigative Dermatology found that visible light, particularly the blue-violet wavelengths, stimulates melanogenesis in melasma skin. This means that even if you are wearing sunscreen, even if you are avoiding direct sun exposure, the visible light coming through your windows, from your computer screen, from your phone, from indoor lighting, all of it can trigger melanin production in melasma-affected skin. Now, with this understanding of what melasma actually is, a hormonally and vascularly driven hyperactivity of melanocytes triggered by visible light and inflammation, you can see why surface treatments fail. Creams that bleach the top layer of skin cannot reach the blood vessels feeding the melanocytes beneath. Lasers that target pigment generate heat that triggers more VEGF and more blood vessel growth. Chemical peels that strip the epidermis create inflammation that activates more melanin production. You need a different approach entirely. You need to address melasma from the inside out, and that is where these three foods come in. The first food directly inhibits the enzyme that produces melanin. The second food disrupts the vascular network feeding the hyperactive melanocytes. And the third food blocks the hormonal and inflammatory signals that keep melanocytes switched on. Combined, they create what I call the melasma reversal protocol. And the first food is so powerful that clinical studies have demonstrated visible lightening of melasma patches in 8 weeks when consumed daily. The number one food for reversing melasma and restoring even skin tone is pomegranate. Not pomegranate juice from a bottle, not pomegranate flavored anything, whole fresh pomegranate, the seeds, the arrows, and specifically the white pith that surrounds them. And here is exactly why this fruit is so effective against melasma. Pomegranate contains a unique polyphenol called allergic acid. Allergic acid is one of the most potent natural inhibitors of the enzyme tyrosinase. Tyrosinase is the rate-limiting enzyme in melanin production. It is the enzyme that converts the amino acid tyrosin into dopamine, which then goes through a series of chemical reactions to become melanin. If you can inhibit tyrosinase, you can directly reduce melanin production. And allergic acid does exactly that. It binds to tyrosinase and blocks its active site, preventing it from converting tyrosin into pigment. But ellagic acid does something more. This is the part that connects directly to my angiogenesis research. Ellagic acid has been shown to inhibit VEGF expression, the same vascular endothelial growth factor that drives the abnormal blood vessel growth under melasma patches. A study published in the Journal of Clinical Biochemistry and Nutrition demonstrated that ellagic acid significantly downregulated VEGF expression and reduced microvascular density. This means ellagic acid is not just shutting down the melanin factory, it is cutting off the fuel supply. It is reducing the blood vessels that are feeding and stimulating the hyperactive melanocytes. This dual mechanism, tyrosinase inhibition plus VEGF suppression, makes pomegranate uniquely effective against melasma. And there is a third mechanism. Pomegranate contains punicalagins, which are powerful antioxidants that reduce oxidative stress in the skin. Oxidative stress is a major trigger for melanin production. When your skin cells experience oxidative damage from UV radiation, pollution, visible light, or inflammation, they signal to melanocytes to produce more melanin as a protective response. By neutralizing that oxidative stress, punicalagins break the chain reaction that leads to melanin overproduction. The clinical evidence for pomegranate's effect on skin pigmentation is compelling. A randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled study published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology examined the effect of pomegranate extract on UV-induced pigmentation. Participants who consumed pomegranate extract daily showed a significant reduction in melanin index, that is a direct measurement of skin pigment compared to the placebo group. The reduction was particularly pronounced in individuals with higher baseline pigmentation, suggesting that pomegranate is more effective the more pigmentation you have. Here is exactly how to use pomegranate for your melasma. Consume one whole fresh pomegranate daily. You want the seeds, and critically, you also want to eat some of the white pith, the spongy white membrane that separates the clusters of seeds. The pith contains concentrated ellagic acid and other bioactive polyphenols that are less abundant in the juice alone. Eat the pomegranate raw. Do not juice it because juicing removes the fiber and many of the polyphenols that are bound to the pulp and pith. Add the seeds to a salad, sprinkle them over yogurt, blend them into a smoothie with the pith included, or simply eat them by the spoonful. One whole pomegranate provides approximately 200 to 400 milligrams of allergic acid and punic agents combined, well within a therapeutic range demonstrated in clinical studies. If fresh pomegranate is not available or not practical, you can use a high-quality pomegranate extract supplement. Look for one standardized to contain at least 40% ellagic acid. The therapeutic dose is 400 to 800 milligrams per day of the extract. Always choose a product that has been third-party tested for purity and potency, but I always prefer the whole food. The whole pomegranate contains the full spectrum of bioactive compounds, not just ellagic acid, but also punicolagazins, anthocyanins, and flavonoids that work synergistically to reduce pigmentation and support skin health. Now, the second food targets a completely different aspect of melasma, the visible light trigger and the chronic inflammation that keeps melanocytes in a perpetually overactive state. And it is something so simple that most people completely overlook it. The second food for reversing melasma is cooked tomatoes. Cooked, not raw. And before you dismiss this as just another healthy vegetable, let me explain specific biochemistry that makes cooked tomatoes a targeted therapy for mesone skin. Tomatoes are the richest dietary source of lycopene, a carotenoid pigment that gives tomatoes their red color. Lycopene is one of the most powerful antioxidants found in any food. Its oxygen radical absorbance capacity, that is a measure of antioxidant power, is significantly higher than that of beta-carotene and vitamin E. But the specific property that makes lycopene so effective against melasma is its ability to absorb visible light from the inside out. Remember, melasma is triggered not just by UV radiation, but by visible light, the blue-violet wavelengths of the light spectrum. Lycopene, when present in your skin at therapeutic concentrations, acts as an internal photoprotective filter. It absorbs these harmful wavelengths before they can trigger melanin production in your melanocytes. A study published in the British Journal of Dermatology demonstrated that daily consumption of tomato paste, which is cooked concentrated tomatoes, significantly increased the skin's natural photoprotective capacity. After 10 weeks of daily tomato paste consumption, the participants showed a measurable reduction in UV and visible light-induced erythema and pigmentation. The lycopene had accumulated in their skin and was acting as a built-in whole-body sunscreen. But lycopene has a second, equally important mechanism for melasma. It inhibits the NF-kappa B pathway that is a key inflammatory signaling pathway. NF-kappa B is like a master switch for inflammation. When it is activated, it triggers the release of multiple inflammatory cytokines and growth factors, including VEGF. By inhibiting NF-kappa B, lycopene reduces the inflammatory signals that contribute to melanocyte hyperactivity and abnormal blood vessel growth. This anti-inflammatory effect complements the tyrosinase inhibition from pomegranate. The pomegranate is shutting down the melanin production machinery. The lycopene is reducing the inflammatory signals that keep that machinery switched on. And there is a third connection to my angiogenesis research. Lycopene has been shown to inhibit angiogenesis by reducing VEGF expression and by interfering with the signaling pathways that endothelial cells, the cells that form new blood vessels, use to proliferate and migrate. A study published in the Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry found that lycopene significantly reduced VEGF-induced angiogenesis in human endothelial cells. This anti-angiogenic effect directly addresses the abnormal blood vessel network that characterizes melasma. Here is exactly how to use tomatoes for your melasma. You want them cooked, not raw. Cooking tomatoes increases the bioavailability of lycopene by up to 4 times. When tomatoes are heated, the cell walls break down, releasing lycopene from its bound form and converting some of it into a more absorbable Cy isomer. Cooking tomatoes in a small amount of healthy fat, such as extra virgin olive oil, further enhances lycopene absorption because lycopene is fat-soluble. The therapeutic dose based on clinical research is approximately 40 to 50 grams of tomato paste per day. That is about 3 tablespoons. You can incorporate it into your diet in numerous ways. Add tomato paste to soups, stews, and sauces. Spread it on whole grain toast with a drizzle of olive oil. Stir it into cooked vegetables or legumes. Make a simple quick tomato sauce by sautéing garlic and olive oil, adding the tomato paste, and thinning it with a bit of water or bone broth. You can also use canned, crushed, cooked tomatoes. 1/2 cup provides a similar lycopene dose. Key is that the tomatoes must be cooked. Raw tomatoes provide far less bioavailable lycopene. Consume your cooked tomatoes daily. Lycopene accumulates in your skin over time, reaching peak concentrations after about 10 to 12 weeks of consistent consumption. This is not a quick fix. This is a long-term systemic therapy that builds photoprotection into your skin from the inside. And one more important note, lycopene-rich foods are orange-red in color. Do not worry, eating cooked tomatoes daily will not turn your skin orange. That only happens with excessive consumption of pure beta-carotene, not with lycopene from whole foods. Now, the third food is the one that most directly addresses the hormonal driver of melasma, and it is a spice that has been used for thousands of years in traditional medicine, but that modern science is only now beginning to understand at the molecular level. The third food for reversing melasma is turmeric. Specifically, the curcumin compounds found in turmeric root, and the mechanism by which curcumin works against melasma is remarkable in its precision. Curcumin inhibits tyrosinase that alone makes it useful for pigmentation. But curcumin does something that neither ellagic acid from pomegranate nor lycopene from tomatoes does. It directly modulates hormone receptor signaling in melanocytes. Melanocytes have estrogen receptors on their surface. When estrogen binds to those receptors, it triggers a signaling cascade that increases tyrosinase activity and melanin production. Curcumin has been shown to interfere with estrogen receptor signaling in pigment-producing cells, reducing the melanin-stimulating effect of estrogen without altering systemic hormone levels. This is a crucial distinction. Curcumin is not reducing your estrogen, it is reducing your melanocytes' sensitivity to estrogen. This is exactly what you want for hormonally driven melasma. Dampen the melanocyte response to hormones without disrupting the body's overall hormonal balance. But curcumin has an equally powerful anti-inflammatory mechanism. It is one of the most potent natural inhibitors of the COX-2 enzyme, which is the enzyme that produces inflammatory prostaglandins. It also inhibits tumor necrosis factor alpha and multiple interleukins, all of which are inflammatory signals that can stimulate melanin production by broadly suppressing the inflammatory milieu in the skin. Curcumin removes one of the key triggers that keeps melasma melanocytes in their hyperactive state, and the angiogenesis connection is here too. Curcumin has been shown in multiple studies, including research from my own laboratory, to inhibit angiogenesis by suppressing VEF and by interfering with the signaling pathways that endothelial cells use to form new blood vessels. A study published in the journal Biological Chemistry demonstrated that curcumin directly inhibited VEF receptor signaling and reduced new blood vessel formation in laboratory models. This anti-angiogenic effect further disrupts the abnormal vascular network underlying melasma. The challenge with curcumin is its bioavailability. Plain turmeric powder is poorly absorbed. Most of it passes through your digestive system without ever reaching your bloodstream. To overcome this, you need to combine turmeric with two things: black pepper and a fat source. Black pepper contains piperine, which has been shown to increase curcumin absorption by up to 2,000%. The fat source, olive oil, coconut oil, ghee, or the natural fats in a meal, further enhances absorption because curcumin is fat-soluble. Here is exactly how to use turmeric for your melasma. Take 1 teaspoon of high-quality organic turmeric powder daily. Mix it into a small amount of warm water or warm milk. The warming enhances solubility. Add a generous pinch of freshly ground black pepper. Add a teaspoon of coconut oil, ghee, or olive oil. Stir well and consume. This is the classic golden milk preparation, and it is one of the most effective ways to get therapeutic levels of curcumin into your bloodstream and ultimately into your skin. Alternatively, you can incorporate turmeric into your cooking. Add it to soups, stews, curries, roasted vegetables, scrambled eggs, or warm grain dishes. Always include black pepper in the same dish and ensure there is some fat present. The combination of turmeric, black pepper, and fat is non-negotiable if you want therapeutic benefits. If you prefer a supplement, look for a curcumin extract standardized to 95% curcumoids and formulated with piperine or another bioavailability enhancer such as phospholipid complex, also called phytosome technology. Therapeutic dose is 500 to 1,000 milligrams per day. Third-party testing is essential for turmeric supplements because turmeric is susceptible to contamination with heavy metals and synthetic dyes. Now, let me bring all three foods together into the complete melasma reversal protocol. This is the exact protocol Eleanor followed. And this is the protocol that can restore even radiant skin tone, not overnight, but over weeks and months of consistent inside-out healing. Every morning with your breakfast, consume one whole fresh pomegranate. Eat the seeds and some of the white pith. This provides the allergic acid and punicologens that inhibit tyrosinase, suppress V, and reduce oxidative stress in your skin. Every afternoon with your lunch, consume 3 tablespoons of cooked tomato paste or half a cup of cooked crushed tomatoes. Incorporate them into your meal. The lycopene will accumulate in your skin over time, building an internal photoprotective barrier against visible light and UV-induced melanogenesis while simultaneously reducing the inflammatory signals that drive melanocyte hyperactivity. Every evening, with or after your dinner, prepare and consume golden milk. 1 teaspoon of turmeric powder, a generous pinch of black pepper, a teaspoon of coconut oil or ghee mixed into warm water or milk. This delivers the curcumin that modulates estrogen receptor signaling in melanocytes, inhibits CIO2-driven inflammation, and suppresses the abnormal angiogenesis beneath your melasma patches. That is the protocol. 3 foods morning, afternoon, and evening, 12 weeks of consistency, but the foods alone are not enough. Melasma is a condition that is triggered and maintained by multiple external factors. If you do not address these triggers, the foods will be fighting an uphill battle. Here are the non-negotiable lifestyle practices you must follow alongside the melasma reversal protocol. Number 1, wear a tinted mineral-based sunscreen every single day. I cannot emphasize this enough. Chemical sunscreens absorb UV radiation, but they do not block visible light. And visible light is a major trigger for melasma. Mineral sunscreens containing zinc oxide or titanium dioxide physically block both UV and visible light. Tinted mineral sunscreens contain iron oxides, which provide additional protection against visible light, particularly the blue-violet wavelengths that are most problematic for melasma. Apply it every morning, even if you are staying indoors. Visible light comes through windows. Blue light comes from your screens. Do not skip sunscreen. This is the single most important topical intervention for melasma, and it works synergistically with the internal photoprotection provided by the lycopene from your cooked tomatoes. Number 2, avoid heat on your face. Heat directly stimulates melanocyte activity and increases V expression. This is why hot yoga, saunas, steam rooms, and even cooking over a hot stove can trigger melasma flares in susceptible individuals. If you exercise outdoors, do it in the cooler morning or evening hours. If you cook, use an exhaust fan and try to keep your face away from direct heat. Wash your face with lukewarm, not hot, water. Heat is an invisible trigger that many women with melasma never identify. Number 3, avoid fragrance in your skincare products. Fragrance is one of the most common causes of subclinical skin inflammation. That low-grade, invisible inflammation activates the same inflammatory pathways that drive melanocyte hyperactivity. Switch to fragrance-free everything. Cleanser, moisturizer, sunscreen, makeup. Your skin does not need to smell like flowers. It needs to be calm and non-inflamed. Number 4. Be patient and consistent. Melasma develops over years. It will not reverse in days. The melanin already deposited in your skin takes time to be shed as your skin cells naturally turn over, a process that takes approximately 28 to 40 days in mature skin.